Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, as well as double honor to their elders. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 pushing this world with all truth and sincerity, as well as peace and blessings to all the believers of Yahweh Shai. And let me start by begin by breaking down those names. The name of the Heavenly Father, the true name of the Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly calls God. His name is Yahweh. Yah meaning he, Hawa meaning is or exist. He is, he exists. And who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, his name is Yahweh Shai. Yah meaning he, Yahweh Shai meaning saves or deliver. He saves, he delivers. He's coming back to deliver his people from their sins. And who's the Lord's people? The Israelites. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Predominantly. But I just want to get into a quick lesson here in Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, verses 1 through 10. Explaining what the laser beams are. 'Cause I know I mentioned that time to time how America, is going to be destroyed by 200 million nuclear warheads, which I'll probably do a separate lesson on that. Second Ezra, the ninth chapter. So like in not second Ezra, it's Revelation, the ninth chapter, going into those 200,000, the horsemen as it describes, and then it goes on to describe them. But yeah, the laser beams as well, Yahweh Shai and the angels coming back to shoot laser beams upon this place, going to completely destroy it, as well as that army over there in the Middle East. Hey, then they're gonna make their way over here to the Western world, America, and lay America flat. It's only gonna take Yahweh Shai an hour, to completely destroy this place. So let's get into Revelation. Salakia. Second Ezra, the 13th chapter. We'll read verses 1 through 10. Lord will is edifying and to the point. Salakia, not 1 through 10, 1 through 11. So Second Ezra chapter 13 and verse 1 it says, "And it came to pass after 7 days I dreamed a dream by night." And this is Ezra, receiving another vision. It says, "And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof." And as we read down verse 5, it's going to mention that a Yahushai, that a man that came out of the sea, so it was Yahushai, he's seen, Yahushai on a great chariot that's going to go on to describe as a mountain rising out of the sea, a literal sea, because, this is a vision. But we know Yahushai is coming from above, man, the heavens, as it describes in Genesis, the first chapter, it's waters above the firmament. But continuing on, Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 3, it says, well, I'll read verse 2 again. "And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And he turned his countenance to look, and when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him." You see that once again, it was Yahushua that that Ezra seen coming out of the sea. He said he waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, letting you know that he ain't coming by himself. And when Yahweh Shai comes back, the world gonna think it's a so-called, alien invasion. But let me read this precept here, going to the thousands. He says he waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, going to the angels. This is Psalm 68 and verse 17. It says, "The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place." You see, the chariots are what the world ignorantly calls is UFOs and UAPs, but these are the vehicles of the angels that the angels drive, and Yahweh Shai's, his chariot is the largest one. As Ezra's gonna read, as it describes it as a great mountain. I was gonna make another point, but it slipped my mind. What, let me read this precept, maybe it'll come back. Psalm 68 and 17. "The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place." Nah, but that's just proving the point. Those thousands that's all Yahweh is going to wax strong with are the angels. Oh, that's the point I was gonna say. That there's many chariot sightings right now. So this damn devil, the elites, they know what it's not little gray men, flying piloting. As a quote from Apostle Gabar, says time to time, in order to tell a lie, you must know the truth. So why these down the least of these Edomites know that it's not no damn little green men, piloting what they call UFOs and UAPs. They know that it's the angels, man. They know that it's their destruction, you know. But let me just thinking about a precept, but I can't word it right in my mind to look for it. But let's go back to Second Ezra 13. And 3 it says, And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Hey, it's gonna be a frightful thing, man, when Yahweh shall crack those clouds. You know, it's, hey, everybody's gonna be in fear. You know, even the elect. But hey, we know this is our salvation. You know, Lord willing, we be found on the right hand side. You know, to be a part of that number. Verse 4 says, And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth felleth when it filleth the fire. You know, it's saying, that when they heard his mouth, but we do understand that the chariots can shoot laser beams. Shit, there's videos if you want to go dive into that rabbit hole you want to. You find certain videos that showing the chariots shooting laser beams, shooting missiles or whatnot. There's videos out there showing it, but hey, if Yahushua wanted to, it could literally come out of his mouth as well too. But we understand it's talking about laser beams pursuing from the chariots. Verse 5 it says, And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude out of men, out of number, from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Hey, is during World War III, or Armageddon in the Hebrew, there'll be Harmageddon, the mountain of troops. That's what's getting ready to happen. We see it in the build up here right now. World War III is being built up. And that mountain of troops is getting ready. So let me read this again, verse 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. And I was looking for the video, maybe a brother will put it up in the comments or something like that, showing Lyndon B. Johnson. He was addressing the UN, and he was saying, roughly paraphrasing, what if it comes a time to where we're gonna have to face a coming enemy together? Not of this world, because they at least know, man, they're gonna have to deal with Yahweh Shai. And this was way back in the 60s or something like that, I believe. But continuing on, I'll read verse 5 again. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and lo, he gathered himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. And that great mountain is that chariot, man. It says, But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. Hey, Ezra's like, man, this chariot is so big. He describes it as a great mountain. He's looking around like, man, what did you make this chariot from? He couldn't tell the region or place that it was from. That's how big it was. That's how big it is, man. This is where Yahweh Shai is going to come back. When we crack those clouds, we're going to see it, man. Lord willing, we be that number to endure all the way into the end and get to see it. Verse 8 it says, And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Hey, Yahweh Shai is gonna put up on their spirit, man. They ain't gonna want to fight Yahweh Shai. They gonna know they can't win, but guess what? Yahweh Shai is gonna make them fight. He's gonna put up on their spirits to try to use the fighter jets and their missiles or whatnot, trying to fight against the angels, man. It's a losing fight. I'm trying to think of a good phrase to use, but hey, man, Yahweh Shai is going to win. It's not even a competition. Say that. Continuing on, verse 9, And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither left up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest. And once again, we know this is not literally talking about his mouth; it's talking about pursuing from the chariot. But if Yahweh Shai wanted to, man, he could do it. He could do that as well too, But he's talking about the chariot shooting laser beams. This is what it's going to right here. Verse 10 again. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest. What would that be? You describe that as a laser beam. I was going to do this before the lesson, but now since it's on my mind, let's see if I'm pretty sure that there's already technology, laser weapons. Let me just. All right. Wow, I'm typing in a long ass question. Let me just put it like this: do laser weapons exist? And yes, which I knew that myself. I'm thinking about this damn shit. Esau, his weapon is the sword. And that damn thinking about that fire in Maui or all these different wildfires happening. Hey, they using a laser weapon, and it's been on video. There's many videos showing that they can start these fires through using laser weapons and whatnot. And so how much more? Hey, Yahweh Shai and the angels. Hey, they the chariots can do that as well. Way better, man. So going back to Second Esdras 13 and verse 10, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So it's not. Hey, it says that upon a sudden, an innumerable multitude was, perished. Nothing left but dust and the smell of smoke. So imagine, if Yahweh Shai's chariot is the size of a great mountain, imagine the size of a laser beam that could create. It ain't gonna be no little small, just little circle laser, man. It's gonna be huge. Hey, we don't want to feel that fire or be any parts of that at all, But that's the point want to stop at. Just bringing out the scriptures, are proving, that Yahweh Shai is coming back with the angels and gonna shoot laser beams. It's gonna completely destroy the armies of the world. It's only gonna take an hour to, when he comes over here to America, it's only gonna take an hour to completely destroy this place. But I'm not gonna ramble on. Lord willing, edifying to the point, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Chakodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 pushing his word without truth and sincerity. Shalom.